Peace, everybody. It's your man Tone Space, alongside A Marvelous, who is the oracle of any and all information pertinent to any and all things that you would, want to learn or know. You know what I'm saying? And me, I'm just here, it's Chuck D. I'm here to do the Flavor Flav thing, so I'll be doing this the whole time. Not quite, but, you get the idea. This is the man right here that, does the do.
Thank you. Tone's being modest, definitely a high IQ individual. We appreciate you joining us, giving us your time and attention, because those are two things that you really can't get back. And everything else you can, strive and work your way back, even if you lost it. So with that, this is going to be the beginning or continuation of a lot of discussions, talks, and just overall questions of things that's going on. A video series between myself and Tone Space. And so, before we, get into a lot of the other stuff that we have in mind, there is one thing in particular I think Tone wanted to address that's a very serious issue that might not have a lot of attention being shown on it.
Okay. Yeah, well, just last night, coming back home, drunk than a motherfucker, and it was brought to my attention of, the Houston flood that occurred a few weeks ago. There's a lot of fundraising that's been going on for this, or a lot of mock fundraising. Point being, the people that have been displaced and that have been homeless and are just totally asked out, including one woman, you got to hear her story. She has her infant, and it was just very heartbreaking. She was not getting the funds. She was trying to call up to find out what's going on with relief, and nothing was happening. And we're talking about funds that were raised a good, I think, 2 or something weeks ago, and it's just not been going to the people. People are still messed up in the game. And the reason why this is important is because seems to be a common thing. It's not the first time I've heard about this, probably not the first time you've heard about this. And a lot of these things get funneled through non-profit organizations, as is the case of this particular situation that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So what we would like to do sometime in the near future is put together a documentary and or an expose just delving deep into non-profit organizations, specifically citing the potential for these heinous acts of straight up theft to go down. Because in this case, I think we're talking about at least $600,000, maybe anywhere up to $800,000, maybe anywhere up to $1 million that was supposed to be relief fund that is not going to the people that need to be relieved, and has been going into people's pockets. A woman by the name of Holly Rankin, Hollyrrenken, I believe is how you spell her first and last name. A white lady that has done this same hustle in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and was caught out there fronting, taking people's money in Tulsa, Oklahoma some time ago. So we really have to be very diligent when we donate or we send money to whomever, because we got a lot of bullshit going on. That's just really what it is. So sometime in the near future, we definitely want to bring that expose of nonprofits. And I mean, it won't just necessarily totally be a negative thing. There might be some good stuff with nonprofits that we would like to highlight as well. But we definitely want to look into the mystery of the bullshit and uncover that shit and maybe just wisen everybody up. So that's my piece on that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an area that is definitely not, it doesn't get a lot of attention. If the catastrophe or disaster doesn't happen in your neck of the woods, you kind of remove from it, so you kind of have a dispassionate type of demeanor because it's not affecting us directly, or it's not in the same, geographic area. And this has been going on since 9/11. I remember even back then, people were creating, websites just so, people of victims of 9/11 can send their money and fund the kind of search mission to find.
Oh, yeah, I remember that shit.
Yeah, so that was rampant, and they cleared 6 figures. It was tons of them doing that. So, this is crime is everywhere.
You know what I remember? Speaking of 9/11 thing, I remember some foul shit they were doing. They were picking up rubble from the broken buildings and selling rocks on eBay. You know what I'm saying? 9/11 building blow up rocks. So, motherfuckers will try their hand at any and every type of scam that they can. So we got to be diligent on that.
Right. So, you know, this is just like kind of like a public service announcement. You know, there's a lot of things that can be done. Obviously, we don't have all the solutions. But this is just intro, is just to bring awareness to the situation, because, you know, you never know. Catastrophe could happen in your neck of the woods. And,
Yep.
you know, you want true relief.
Yeah.
You don't want to be scammed, you know, through your innocence.
Exactly. So if you're going to donate to anything under these type of circumstances, please, I mean, we know in times of emergency, you know, you're not really thinking on that level because you're not thinking about assholes that's trying to scam people. You're thinking more from the heart chakra or from the heart level, and you're like, oh, I want to give, I want to help these people out. But unfortunately, this world we live in, please vet your whomever you donate to under any of these circumstances. And by vet, I mean examine to the best of your ability to make sure it's as much on the up and up as your ability to check it being on the up and up is. Try your very best. You know what I'm saying? Because this bullshit should not happen. Because, I mean, imagine if that money would have went to, because there's probably legitimate fundraisings that money could have went to where it could have helped these people out. And instead it went to some asshole or assholes. So.
And you actually knew someone that, you know, you're in contact with that this happened to, right? Maybe.
I know someone that pretty much blew the story up. I don't really want to put on blast like that without the permission and all that, but you know, she had got the victim on the phone, or one of the victims on the phone, and she was telling her story, and it was just heartbreaking. I couldn't go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming back drunk, thinking I'm just gonna pass out and all that. I'm hearing all this shit. I'm like, oh man. So I mean, I hit up everybody. I hit up all the outlets in the black. I hit up Sinetta, Tariq, you name it. I hit them up with this story, and you know, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, these people can get, you know, these funds can get funneled and transferred to the people that need it, or at the very least, the fucking idiots that's doing this bullshit come to justice. One, the other, or both. But you know, heart goes out to all of y'all. You know, stay strong, and you know, just know sometimes it's just good to know that you got people on your side that care, even if you don't have to know them. But you know, because I mean, there was another woman involved in the situation that was on the brink of, you know, ending it all, and to have that caring voice on the other line speaking to her last night, I think made a, you know, a very good difference. So props to you. You know, here you are. All right.
So with that, you know, we're gonna get into it. There is a major thing. I think it's major because I think everyone's being affected by this in some form of fashion, especially if you consider yourself not middle class. I mean, middle class or lower, not lower class, but if you're not upper middle class or extremely wealthy, this is something that has definitely been affecting you and affecting everyone. There was two pieces that were done. One was done by the LA Times, and another one was done by RT America. And the one by RT America was a video, and it was called America's Shrinking Middle Class. And it was going over, the video was explaining how the middle class in America is pretty much being evaporated, you know, not by a natural cause, just over orchestrated events that are causing the middle class to disappear. So basically, to translate, people, this is not, you know, rocket science, but people are making less money. And the money's decreasing, but the housing prices are increasing. So how is this possible? How is it possible that across the country, wages are not really increasing, they're kind of flat, but, you know, real estate is through the roof. And this is causing those that would be considered middle class, you know, making around 70 or under, to pretty much disappear, meaning that there's only low income, high income, and nothing in the middle. So everyone that was considered middle class is now in the low income category.
Let me ask, like what, you know, to be as specific as possible, what income, max low income are we talking about, and what minimum to become high income are we talking about, like per year?
Well, high income would be pretty much in the six figures. You know,
100 or better.
100 or better. You know what I'm saying? Maybe if you're high fives, you know, but to be safe, I don't have the numbers in each state or in America, but high, well, in New York, for instance, was looking at the comptroller's analysis of New York, and a high-income job on average was $150,000.
Okay.
Those were high-income wages.
Yeah. Yeah.
And middle-income wages was in the 70,000 range.
Right.
And low-income wage was beneath the 70,000
Really?
range.
So
yeah.
65 is considered low income, you think?
Within that range, yes.
In New York too. Also, remember
This is in New York,
we're at right now.
You know? And the rule of thumb, even if you're not in New York, is that for housing, you're supposed to purchase a home no more than 3 times your annual income. And that's difficult because if you're in New York and making $60,000, you're not going to find a $180,000 home unless you're getting a 1 or 2 bedroom condo. So housing is pushing people into poverty. Low wages is pushing people into poverty. And what this is going to cause is a ripple effect of more crime because people are increasing homelessness. And this is important. When this happens, historically, societies have crumbled. So how this affects you is if there's more people in the lower class, that means that there's going to be less space where you live at. There's going to be more people moving into your location, and it's going to make it more crowded. And studies have shown when there's more crowds under a small geography, that causes more tension and more crime because more people are grabbing for fewer resources.
Oh yeah.
So I definitely think people should observe the trend that's going on. And another article I seen was in the LA Times. And this article was kind of scary. It kind of fits the one with RT America. And it's called, Why Has There Been an Exodus of Black Residents from West Coast Liberal Hubs? So basically this article is explaining how in the West Coast and in the Midwest, there are more black people that's moving from rural areas. And it's showing that the largest concentration of black people are now in the South.
Okay.
So if you think about that now, how's that going to affect the country if the majority of people, and it's increasing, are going to be in one region? What's the effects of that?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think that is going to make the tension even higher because now, even when it comes to something like tourism and travel, you're gonna have possible feedback and resistance because it's gonna disrupt the ecosystem where they're not normally used to that. It's gonna cause a lot of trouble. So it may cause trouble in tourism. It may cause trouble in the economics.
Is it due to the congestion of them being in one area?
Well, if you have a region where you only have one type of ethnicity.
Right, because you did specify, you did say black people are moving to the South, right?
Yeah, this particular, in the middle class as a whole, every ethnicity, if you're in the middle class, because wages are shrinking, you are now being a lower class, which means that you won't be able to afford things. It'll be increased homelessness. In terms of black people are moving from the West and the Midwest. So that means that these regions are going to be extremely unbalanced, extremely unequal. So the few black people that's there is going to have even less voice, which is going to affect them politically, it's going to affect them financially, and to the point to where they're going to be completely marginalized, and they're pretty much not going to be able to maneuver, So this is something that we need to look at because
outnumbered, outgunned, if it comes down to it, just out.
Outnumbered, outdone.
You just out.
just out. So this is this world is changing. This country is changing, and it's going to affect everyone at their doorstep because this diversity that America promotes, it's no longer going to be diverse. You're now going to have everyone, it's going to be visible that if you're of this ethnicity, you belong here. If you're of that ethnicity, you belong here because it's going to become evident. If I'm going to somewhere like Portland, where I believe it's like, it's the 5th lowest black population in the country, that's a problem. That's a serious problem.
Well, it kind of goes into another thing that a lot of us in the conscious collective kind of brush off as ideas that has been tried before. Now, you're saying that this could be a problem, but let me ask you, what do you think of the possibility a bunch of black people centered and collectively populating in like one particular area? What do you think about the black community and the potential to strengthen the black community? Maybe pull another Dr. Malachi York move, like he did with how do you pronounce it? Tamaray. Yeah. You know, the compound and everything that he had going. Another Tulsa, Oklahoma. Another Black Wall Street. How do you think that can work into that as in a productive manner, if you think it possibly can at all?
Well, that actually, reading that and hearing what you just said, it reminds me when I was in college, right? Back at Howard, and there was a black bookstore, and the owner would give speakings and stuff like that. And this was actually part of his proposal.
Okay.
He proposed that all black people should move in the Mid-Atlantic region because it's an easy escape route, right? You have access to airports in between Atlanta and Virginia and DC, and it's close to water. So it allow you to establish things like your own airline, your own boats and things like that. So I think that would be a positive if everyone did congregate, because it's happening anyway.
Yeah.
That would allow standing armies, that would allow things to be more self-sufficient. There's more land in the South, you know, so it's just better territory. You don't have to worry about the weather, you know what I mean? And you have access to the finance capital of the country, which is New York, close proximity. So I think on those levels, it would be positive.
Yeah, because you know what? Speaking on what you said, I remember those days at Howard. Now, around that time, the Atlanta Dr. York's place was still popping. It was before they infiltrated it and took it apart. And I remember from reading the scrolls, because I used to flip through the York scrolls back in the day. We used to do it.
Everybody did.
We knew a lot of Nubians out in that area, so we were well informed on it. I remember York had like the map of the U.S. and he was basically saying like where we're from, New York was considered, the Upper East was considered the brown zone, or as far as what the future would hold, or what he predicted as the future would hold, that the economy would be fucked up, whatever, and that would be the brown zone, meaning it's dirty, meaning everything is just messed up. You know what I'm saying? Where we were at in DC, VA, kind of like the middle area of it, because we're going from top, upper, middle, was considered and I believe this spans out across east and west, so just consider it like as if, just consider it horizontal, what I'm saying. So the middle was considered the red zone. That's where the wars were going to pop off, you know what I'm saying? That's where, Yosemite Sam and them was going to come out with the muskets and start busting,
right.
You know what I'm saying? And he said like Atlanta or the South, Texas included on that side, Atlanta on our side, going horizontal on the entire country, that was considered the green zone. Hence why he had the compound out there. He was saying, pretty much everything you said. I remember reading in the scrolls. Access to airports, weather, this, that, the third. Just a perfect place to mobilize and get shit popping.
Right. Definitely. So, Dr. York definitely had the blueprint. He definitely set it on the right track. I think he was the, like I always say, there's about 4 or 5 organizations that are still standing that had that organizational structure that people can plug into that lasted longer than anyone else. It was Marcus Garvey movement.
Okay.
It was Noble Drew Ali, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, okay, and the various factions of the Hebrew Israelites, Yahweh ben Yahweh and the other denominations. They had claims. They fed the people, not like individuals that's lining their pockets.
So you're right. They still do it now. Like ISUPK and them, they do a lot of stuff for the community. This, that, the third.
And that's just one denomination of the Hebrew Israelites.
Yeah, there's so many different ones. Now, granted, there are a few. I'm not going to call them out on this video, but there are a few that, or at least one particular one I know of, one faction that be talking some bullshit. Oh, it's okay to have sex with 12-year-old girls, but we're not going to get into all that in this one. We're just talking about them as a whole. And so yeah, I definitely do agree. The Israelites, whether you follow or believe in the scholarship or not, you can't deny the work that is put in. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm not just talking about the ones you see on the street corners. I'm talking about the ones that, wear the white robes, and like I said, the Yahweh Ben Yahwehs and things like that. They actually had buses, planes, real estate, you know, but those organizations are still standing, you know, and it's like I say, unless you build an organization for people to plug in, and you're an individual doing this, then it's kind of like either you're lining your pockets, or hopefully you're moving towards that where you're building an institution, because that's what it's about. Either you're building an institution, or you're building something that people can plug into, membership or whatever, where they could be protected. Because other than that, you're going to get picked off. So that's important. In terms of the region of the South, the downside is the fact that it does follow the slave trail, and that's where all the hurricanes seem to come. So obviously, you know, you can bank on black people being spared if they did congregate there to one, and the hurricanes came. Their lives might be overlooked by the ancestors, but it's a risky thing, being that that's where most of the hurricanes in this country are, along that slave path, which is the South predominantly.
And hey, I mean, let's just keep it funky. Some of y'all may say this is pseudo. Some of y'all may rock with this. We also know, or at least we're aware of the theory, at the very least, of weather manipulation, heart, and these things that supposedly channel the weather, you know, to, you know, certain places where naturally it might not necessarily go. Now, I'm not saying hard body that all that HAARP and that weather manipulation exists with 100% certainty, but it is a rumor that I do keep in my mind as far as a possibility, because I've seen, you know, little pieces of evidence that kind of, you know, do have a compelling case for the existence of that.
Well, it's not even a rumor. A rumor is something that, you know, is spread word of mouth, that, you know, is made up, low, if any, possibility of being factual. But, you know, things like HAARP is real. It is true studies that they've shot, you know, energy into the atmosphere and changed the ions and things like that. So this isn't something that's rumor. You know,
it's not pseudo.
All you pseudo people are horrible. You know, you're just coming across the wrong individual with information. That's another thing. Even if you look at the trail of Katrina, it was actually headed towards Texas first, and then it trailed back. You know what I mean?
I peeped that. That was one of the big compelling things. Like, I think Phil Valentine broke it down. He showed, like, the, you know, like the weather radar meteorologist style. He showed the joint, and then he showed it do like it busted like a Yui. You know what I'm saying? Like, it left its wallet home, and this shit was going towards Texas. That shit said, and you know, the rest we know.
And see, that's also why this article, you know, why has there been an exodus of black residents from the West Coast liberal hubs, is because, honestly, I think in the country, the best land may no longer be in the South. It may be in the Midwest. You know what I mean? It may be in those regions where it's mountainous, where you can escape into something if something happened. If there was any kind of riots or wars, you know, you actually have space and regions where you can actually go pull back and regroup. It's real spread out. You know, there's so much land in the Midwest and going towards the West Coast, like Oregon and things like that, that it's actually enough space to house a migration of some sort. You know, so the fact that blacks are leaving these regions is kind of dangerous. You know what I mean? It's kind of dangerous because it's a lot of territory that are being left alone. You know, and that's also where you have a lot of individuals that do bear arms. You know, that region, the Midwest and the West, as you see with the Panthers in Cali, you know, they were the ones that actually exercised their right to bear arms in public. That was a West Coast thing. You know, so your gun laws go, you know, it goes West, Midwest, South. The Northeast normally has the stricter ones. But South, Midwest, West has definitely been lighter on gun laws. So is it worth actually allowing this migration to happen and giving up so much territory? That's another question. You know what I mean? So LA Times, it definitely should pick it up. Again, why has there been an exodus of black residents migrating? And the other one, the middle class is shrinking. And if the middle class is shrinking, that means that where people living. If people are making less money and they can't afford it, there's more homeless people. And more homeless people is actually kind of like the Walking Dead. You know what I mean? Because now you have displacement from people that were used to having a moderate life that are now in a situation where their back is against the wall because they may have no home.
Man.
So this is a whole nother problem. You know what I mean? So I think this is something we need to pay attention to. We need to start looking at the housing situation in our local neighborhoods, because the housing crisis, I think, is going to come again. And it's something that's going to, like it did before, affect us on a regular level. So, you know, what do you think may be some solutions, in your opinion? You know, how does this impact the person? Because some people might not care.
I think I want to touch on what you said about the local area and everything. Kind of what we were discussing earlier. You know, right now we have a presidential election going on. It's fine and dandy. You know, let's, you know, do what we do, whatever on that large scale. But a lot of the shit that goes on, especially related to housing and living conditions, happens with the comptroller or the president of your borough or of your district. I think we have to start focusing on these individuals and who we elect for this, because these are the people that control the policies on that local level. They'll have like a lot to say as far as like housing and stuff like that. So if all of us as a collective start paying attention to our local elected officials, you know what I'm saying, and start electing and making policy the way that we want, and actually communicating with these people, just like the Italians do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they'll come with the briefcase of money. You know, whatever their methods are, they understand the science of the local, you know, the local official. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us, we're on some president stuff. All right, we got Barack. Now we about to have Trump or Hillary. You know, hilarious. But we have to start doing like a lot of other people do, or a lot of other communities do, and pay attention to our local officials. Try to affect policy, you know, a little bit here and there. And maybe that could put a cease, or at least a slowing down of the shrinking middle class that is going on. Because if we could, you know, affect change on the housing level, you know, food, clothing, and shelter. You know what I'm saying? Shelter is one of the big ones. So, you know, we affect change on that, then a lot of other things can fall into place.
Yeah. So basically, in every city, wherever you live at, find out who the banker is for your city. In the next video, I'm gonna actually give solutions for you New Yorkers in regards to the housing problem and the low wages, because there are solutions. You know, just found out that NYCHA, which is responsible for the projects that they call it, there's 2,000 vacant units in the projects in New York City. 2,000 vacant units. What? Some units have been vacant since the Clinton administration.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, just empty ass apartments.
Just vacant. They're just vacant. No one's been living there.
That's crazy.
Some for 5 years, 7 years, 3 years. So think about that. New York, along with DC, have the worst homeless population in the country. But there's 2,000 vacant apartments in the projects.
What?
And there's like tens of millions of dollars in funding to fix the projects and also make it better and provide more housing, but it's just sitting there. And this would not have been known unless you studied the comptroller or the banker in your neighborhood. You know? Yep. So
I didn't know that.
yeah, but that's the thing, is that imagine what we don't know in your city. What if there's vacant houses right across the street from you, and because we don't take and pay attention to the people that make the policies and the decisions in our local area, we have no clue. So in the next video, I'm going to give practical solutions for all you New Yorkers out there. This way you can flood the right people, actually get access to these funds, help the city solve their problem, prevent you from being homeless, and actually seek out these solutions to pain. Because it's here, and it's just getting worse. Now that this middle class has shrunk, every pain point that you are feeling is going to magnetize unless you step up and you start to seek out the solution that's right under your nose. You know, and then maybe as I travel and do more research, I'll go from New York solutions and then spread throughout the country. But for you New Yorkers, it's definitely more options than we think. 2,000 vacant apartments, I mean, think about that. 2,000. So, and that's just one, you know. New York isn't even considering revenue for taxi medallions anymore. So thanks to Uber and thanks to Lyft and companies like that, New York doesn't even consider taxi revenue anymore. So that whole industry has been disrupted in New York City. You know, so what does that mean? That means that there's people that now, instead of giving the city money, because medallions cost a lot, like, you know, 5 figures, that's revenue the city's not getting.
Oh, right, okay.
So if the city's not getting revenue, what do you think that means for you? They're going to penalize you in New York to make up for that revenue.
Hike the train fare like they've been doing.
And hike the train fare, right? But if you can see the city's bottom line, you'll no longer be reactionary. You'll actually know how to protect yourself, because then you'll know how to move, that you can actually contribute to the city where they won't do these things that restrict you. Part of the city's revenue, it's in their budget, and you can see it, is camera fines. Actual camera fines. Hundreds of millions of dollars they project in their revenue for fining you through cameras. Things like this. So, you know, the next video will go over that. But it's things like this that's also going to affect the old middle class, who are now in the lower class bracket in terms of wage. And it's going to affect these black people that are congregating in one region, because all of these policies are nationwide. And it's going to affect these individuals more because they're losing their resources. And that's why you see movies coming out like Purge now. They have a comedy version of Purge. All of these things are training tools to get you to prepare, because the economy is falling on itself.
Shit, like you said, The Walking Dead. That could just be a training mechanism, because you said the newly, immediately homeless people are comparable to The Walking Dead. I seen some motherfuckers nodding right outside there, you know, outside, just, so, you know, it may seem like a stretch, but nah, a lot of this shit is real. Like, that could just be training for you to get used, more accustomed to seeing that, and kind of being that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it ain't too bad, I'm homeless, I'm fucked up, you know, they've already got your mind. They got you centered on saying, well, it is what it is.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good point, you know. University of Florida they created a training manual for how to deal with zombies. You know? And we're going to do another lecture on The Walking Dead and the history of zombies in this country. But it's all training. When you see The Big Short coming out in movies, this is all conditioning for people to get ready for another collapse and the crime wave and the violence that's going to come when people are stripped of their basic necessities. You know, so the only way, not the only way, one of the only ways to prevent this is to actually contribute, because this is a natural reaction. Even though the circumstances have been purposely orchestrated, this is a natural reaction when people don't contribute. When you become a consumer, even in your personal life, if you take individuals that's contributing, have to find a way to eliminate the people that's not contributing. So if you're a producer, you get perks. If you're a Hollywood star, you're producing. You're contributing to the economy. You're actually influencing people. So you have to become a person of influence. You have to learn to contribute in your immediate surroundings, and then on a bigger scale, or you're going to be prey, and your wages are going to be lowered. The quality of life is going to be lowered. But if you become a producer, even the devices that we're using are from individuals that have produced something. And that's why they are in the higher echelon of this country. So you can strip the anger away once you get in the mindset of production as opposed to consumption. If you produce more than you consume, this country will treat you like a hero. If you consume more than you produce, this country will treat you like a scumbag.
Get rid of you.
They'll get rid of you, and they will eliminate you, and they won't, they won't think twice. So, I just wanted to pretty much have people pay attention to those two things: the shrinking middle class. You can watch that video on YouTube, and the shrinking black population in the West Coast and the Midwest. Very important to look at, because wherever you see black people have something done to them, or whatever they do, everything else follows. Voting, blacks were the right of the restricted class to get the right to vote. Then, after that, it followed women, and then all of the privileges like licenses and things came about after that. So that's the trend. So first it was black people disappearing from the West and Midwest, the shrinking middle class. Then it's going to affect everyone. That is the pattern historically. That is what's going on now. So pay attention to that. Find out who the banker is. in your city and actually look at your city's budget and actually look at what their bottom line is, see where you can plug in to contribute to that. So this way you could be protected from anything that might be disastrous. And,
Sure.
you know, that's that.
That's what's up, you know. My contribution,
Thank you, Tom, for setting it up. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. You know, we're gonna come back at y'all again.
Definitely.
Shit, as of our recording of this, Hidden Colors 4 debut.
Oh,
right? So
up to Hidden Colors 4.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you know, check that
Go
out.
cop that, get the knowledge.
Now we're gonna do a review. It's not gonna be biased because I definitely have critique for Mr. Nasheed. You know what I'm saying?
And
but I
definitely
definitely
want to be objective.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
I'm a hater.
so you know we're gonna get our hate on, but you know we're gonna peep it and we're gonna give a very very thorough analysis, review, and see what's really good with that in the very very near future. So all you folks, you know, but we do implore you to go check it out. You know what I mean? Hit the theaters if it's not sold out. Cop the video, stream it, whatever you do, make it happen. And yeah, I guess we'll catch you on the next one, right?
Definitely. Thank you for joining us again. We definitely appreciate it. Any information that we got incorrect, accept our apologies in advance. Feel free to comment, positive or negative, share, question, and you know, check us if anything. You know, we appreciate your time. So anything you contribute outside of violence or harm, we love.
It's all love, all right?
Peace.
That was good shit.